So what if I told you that breaking a bad habit has almost nothing to do with willpower? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But today we're going to dive into this really powerful idea that you can break any habit not by fighting it, but by simply changing your mind about it.
To really get this, I want you to picture something. We're going back in time to late 2012. You're in an old apartment in Istanbul, just a few blocks away from one of its most famous streets, and a small group of friends are all gathered for dinner.
So the conversation eventually turns to habits, and specifically to smoking. When one of the guys there is asked how he ever got started, his answer is, well, it's simple, and it's something a lot of us can probably relate to. He just says, friends. It always starts with your friends. And it's right there, in that late-night conversation with a guide from Maine named Mike and his Turkish friends, that this incredible secret about changing our behavior really starts to come out.
Okay, so in this room, there are 7 people. Now get this, 6 out of those 7 people were, or at some point had been, pack-a-day smokers. I mean, this wasn't just a casual thing for them. It was a seriously ingrained part of their lives.
But here's where the story gets really, really interesting. Even though this habit was so common and so powerful in this little group, something amazing had happened. Half of those smokers had actually quit. For good. The big question is, how did they do it?
Well, the secret wasn't some fancy new therapy or just gritting their teeth and using willpower. No. It came from a really surprising place. A book. A book that Mike, who hadn't smoked in years, told everyone about. A book that actually promised an easy way to stop. And the way Mike talked about this book's effect was just fascinating. He said it wasn't about fighting the urge to smoke. It was about something way deeper. It was about freeing yourself from the mental burden of it all. See, it's a psychological shift, not some brutal battle of wills.
So how in the world does a book do that? Well, it basically forces you to get brutally honest with yourself, to stop lying, to face the facts. You don't actually want to do this. You don't even really enjoy it. You are not a victim here. It just completely flips the script and hands the power right back to you by making you realize you don't need this.
And this brings us to the core strategy, the big idea. It's called reframing. It's all about taking every single cue, every positive feeling you've tied to a bad habit, and just systematically changing its meaning into something negative.
Let's break down how this works. Okay, first up is a super common belief. When you try to quit a habit, you feel like you're giving something up, right? Like you're making this huge sacrifice.
But here's the mental flip, the reframe. The book argues you're not quitting anything of real value. Why? Because the habit itself offers you 0 real benefits. So what are you actually losing? The answer is absolutely nothing.
Okay, here's another big one, the social connection. I mean, how many of us have habits that are completely tangled up with being with friends or relaxing or just trying to fit in? And again, the reframe is so simple, but it is so powerful. The habit isn't what makes you social. The people do. You can be just as social, probably even more so without it. The connection comes from you, not the thing you're doing.
So you can see the whole process here. It's about making this massive mental shift from these old beliefs that keep you stuck to a new empowering reality. You go from thinking a habit calms you down to realizing it actually destroys your nerves. You're not losing a thing. You are gaining everything. It's a total 180 in your perspective.
So what's really happening here, this whole reframing thing, it's not just some clever little trick for quitting smoking. It's actually tapping into a fundamental, universal law of how all of our behaviors, good and bad, are formed and broken.
And here it is, the big secret. This whole strategy is just the flip side of the second law of behavior change. If you want to build a good habit, the law says to make it attractive. So it only makes sense that if you want to break a bad habit, you've got to make it unattractive.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Once you systematically tear down every single benefit you thought the habit gave you, well, the motivation to do it just disappears. The craving doesn't have to be fought with willpower, it just starves to death because there's no reason left to feed it.
And instead of obsessing over what you think you're losing, this whole method gets you to focus like a laser on everything you're gaining. And just look at this list, it's incredible. Better health, more energy, more money, way more confidence and self-respect. You get total freedom. It's not about loss. It's about this massive, wonderful gain.
The really amazing thing is, by the time you're done with this process, you get to a point where you look back at your old habit and you can't even understand why you did it in the first place. It just seems completely illogical, maybe even a little ridiculous. And that's when you know you're finally truly free.
And this isn't just about smoking. This mental reframing trick works for any habit, whether it's doom scrolling on social media or eating junk food when you're stressed. So that leaves a really powerful question for you to think about. What's one belief tied to one of your habits that you could start to reframe right now?